also your photos are beautiful.
God bless my husband. He does all of them. Can't take credit.
I like how she's like, nope, not me.
It's not me.
It is not me.
I knit and crochet, and then he.
Today, we have Ashleigh of Sewrella. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
It is our pleasure, my pleasure, Lion Brand's pleasure, and you are one of our bloggers. You're on Instagram, you're creating things all the time. Also, your Instagram is very soothing to look at.
Oh, thank you.
By the way. So I want to talk to you today a little bit about color combinations, because I think that for me, one of the things that I try to do with knitting and crochet is I try and make my accessories with color.
Right.
But taking different colors,
it's hard for a lot of people to like figure out what goes well together. It's difficult.
So like, what would be some like just basic like 3 pieces of advice that you would give to people out there in like doing color combinations? Because you also dye yarn too.
Yes, I do. So I think about color all day, every day. It's like the first thing I notice when I look at anything. But for me, a big thing that people don't always know to look at is warm versus cool, right? Because there's always an undertone to any color, warm or cool. And when you mix warm and cool together, it can clash really, really easily. And it can kind of like just make something look messier. Whereas, you know, you can put blue and yellow together, but if the blue is cool and the warm is yellow, then it can clash really easily. But if you stick to warm and warm, cool and cool, it can go together really nicely, which is kind of how Example, yes. So this brown is very warm. It's got like an orangey, this is kombucha, and it's one of my favorites from the Color Made Easy line. And it's a very, very warm tone, and so is the pink. So these go well together.
I see. I know that you're a big fan of 24/7 cotton, and you're a big fan of Color Made Easy. How would you, I guess, mix them? Would I do like stripes to this, or it doesn't really matter?
You can do anything, but I like to, if I'm working with 2 colors, or even if you're working with like a blanket that's 10 colors, I like to pick one that's like my focal color, and it's usually just my favorite one. There's no really like rhyme or reason to that. So like my favorite of these 2 would be the pink.
Samesies.
And so I would do like a thinner stripe of kombucha with that. I wouldn't do equal parts, because you need somewhere for your eye to go. So you want to start in one place, and then your eye can move throughout like the piece. So even if it's a blanket with 10 colors, if you have one main color and then your eye can move along from there, got to have like a starting point.
Thinking of color combinations, I did like a Roy G. Biv blanket once.
Yeah.
And so of course, like I started dark, and then it was like patterned, right? So it was like red, orange, yellow, green, blue, red, orange, green, right? That's kind of like my extent of color combos. The rainbow.
Right, yeah.
So how does all this like color combination knowledge that you're very in tune with, how does that all kind of work with dyeing?
It can be a little overwhelming, but for me, I try to think about what grows together goes together. So I think about nature when I think about color a lot. So I like a lot of nature-inspired, like more muted colors, and I like bright, you know, colors as well. But if you think about a plant, think about the colors that are in the plant. Think about the leaf, the petal, the bud, the soil, all of that. And if you have kind of like a theme, a color story, especially if it does have something to do with nature, and there's plenty of brights in nature. Nature doesn't mean brown.
No.
But what grows together goes together, and that seems to be a rule that always works no matter what you're starting with. Even if you're starting with this, put a pale yellow with that and create like a floral palette. You know what I mean? So just think about a real life example instead of just like, I don't know what to do, you know?
Yeah, that's usually, so I dyed yarn a few times, and I made this yarn, I call it my rooster yarn. I don't know why. I think one of my colleagues when I was working at the studio just called it, because I made a hat out of it, and she called it my rooster hat, and then I just called it my rooster yarn.
The rest is history.
Yeah, it's kind of just like, I was like, color! That's literally what happened.
Right.
And it came out good. It like came out pretty good, but it could have been a disaster.
Right. Which can turn into a happy accident, right? And
it
you're
could,
like, oh
my
wow,
rooster
that looks
hat.
good.
Yeah.
Right. But sometimes it can really just be a disaster.
Right. But I like that what grows together. What is it?
What grows together goes together.
That makes so much sense. What are some of your patterns that you've worked with that you've like really implemented those 2 elements?
I have a project right now that I'm calling the Bloom Afghan, and it's exactly this what grows together goes together kind of thing, and it's also sticking to a fairly warm palette, and it's actually in Color Made Easy. And it uses this color, it uses this, and it's got a very floral kind of thing going on, but I just kind of chose colors that seem to make sense in that concept. And as long as I can start with a concept and then I can kind of like bring color that seems to naturally fit, you know, it's a lot easier to know your direction if you have like a decision about what your personal style is.
So like another good piece of advice in color combinations is planning.
Yes, yeah,
I love
definitely.
to plan.
Yeah.
So again, let's summarize those pieces of advice. So we have planning, number one.
Yes.
We have finding like maybe that one color to kind
That's
of
your
like
color.
Your color.
And just own it.
And what's that third one that we want to?
What grows together goes together. Don't forget it. It's such a
Don't
good
forget
one.
It really applies to life, guys. It
really
just
does.
Like all
Everything.
over
Everything.
everything. So with that, Sewrella, cheers.
Cheers.
And remember to like and subscribe and give this video a big thumbs up. Big thumbs up. And remember, you can follow Sewrella, Ashleigh also. She's also known as Ashleigh. All of her information will be below. And we like to ask a question to our followers. Okay. Do you have a question for anyone out there?
I want to know, what's your color?
Ooh, what is your color that
What
you
is
go
it?
to? I'm excited. My color is black.
And my color is pink.
Oh, there we
Yeah.
go. Okay,
Yeah.
well, we're looking forward to seeing what colors you list. And thanks again for joining us. Bye, everyone.
Bye. Yeah, it's got a lot of implications.
I feel like I'm having some life lessons during this Diva Shira right now.
Life lessons
You
with
know,
Sewrella.
you are so wise. You are so wise.
Yarn and a therapy session.
Yeah. Well, actually, no. I'm kidding. Let's really break down the colors.